Hi guys, welcome to Full Time Devils. I'm Adam Akola, and today I am joined by Emre from TurkishFootball.com to preview Manchester United vs Galatasaray, which is taking place in Sweden on Saturday. Now, Manchester United have already played 2 games in their pre-season, one against Wigan, that defeat against Dortmund. We were supposed to play City, but it was called off in that disastrous pre-season tour of China, and now we take on Galatasaray in Sweden in what could be Zlatan Ibrahimovic's first game. Emre, how you doing, mate? Thank you for joining us. And what have you made of the pre-season for Galatasaray so far? How you guys been going? Are you deep into it at the moment?
There are a few games in. One thing I would say is this isn't your usual Galatasaray side. I mean, they're usually always in the title race, always favourites to win the league, or I'm one of the favourites. But they've run into a bit of financial trouble recently, which has seen them banned from European competitions this season. So it's a bit of a transition year, and they're rebuilding, and it shows in their squad. It shows it's not as strong as it usually is.
What kind of squad have they got available for pre-season? Because obviously we know they've got players like Schneider, Podolski, Bruma, etc. But what kind of team will we see them put? I'm not asking you to name the 11, but who has travelled with their pre-season squad? Who maybe come up against, and who should we watch out for?
I think the one name that could surprise a lot of people is Bruma. He was tipped as being the next big thing about 2 seasons back when he joined Galatasaray, but it didn't quite work out in his first season. So he was loaned out to the La Liga last season, but he's back. And he actually finally started to look like the player they signed. I mean, it's been great in pre-season. Obviously, you can never tell if a player's going to have a good season based on the pre-season, but he could be the one to surprise a few Manchester United fans.
And what kind of results and performances have Galatasaray had so far this pre-season? Who have they played?
So they had a good victory against Zurich, winning 3-0, but then they drew against Young Boys.
Okay.
And in their last friendly, they beat Danish side AGF 3-1. And the reason I brought up Bruma is that he scored in basically all their friendlies, and they've been pretty sensational goals. I mean, if you want to go and check them out on YouTube after, it's worth having a look at them. Been pretty special.
And where do you think it will go for Galatasaray this season? Do you see them having another season in the wilderness kind of thing, and not chasing and having to play catch up now because of this ban and stuff, or do you think they'll bounce back straight away? Because obviously Galatasaray are one of the most famous teams in Turkey.
Yeah. Well, it's very tough to tell right now how they're going to respond, because they used to be in the big spenders in the league, attracting those high-profile names, but they're going to have to take a back seat to their arch rivals, Fenerbahce, signing the big players, and obviously Beşiktaş as well, who've got Champions League football. It's going to be a year of transition. They're going to have to change the way they spend. There's going to be no more big money contracts for the likes of Schneider and co. But one advantage they have is that they only have to focus on the league. They've got no other European concerns, and their squad's not as bad as their fans would make out. I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom right now surrounding the team, but it's still made up of very experienced players. You've got Wesley Schneider, you've got Lucas Podolski, you've got a few young players coming through. I mean, it's not as bad as they're making out, but obviously it's nothing like the teams they have of the past. I mean, there were the teams that made a name for Turkish football in Europe back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Moving on to Manchester United now. Obviously, we've coming into this new season, first season under Jose Mourinho. We've had a mixed start to pre-season on the pitch. Off the pitch, it seems to have been a successful one. From the outside looking in, what have you made of the changes Jose Mourinho has made to Manchester United?
Well, obviously it's going to be hard to tell just yet, but I mean, compared to last season, the caliber of players bringing in is obviously it's of a much higher quality. I mean, especially if they bring in Pogba and the other players that were expected. But saying that, I watched the Dortmund game, and
I wish I
wasn't too impressed. I wasn't too impressed, but obviously you can't base it on that. But obviously there's a lot of work to do. It's a new system. It's a new manager. But I would be optimistic if I was a Manchester United fan right now.
We definitely are, especially with the news that we're getting closer to Paul Pogba. Now, today, Manchester United had their training session. It was first training session with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. We've seen the pictures of that, and there were a few notable absences from that. Andreas Pereira, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Adnan Januzaj, Will Keane, and Axel Tuanzebe, which could, apart from Axel Tuanzebe, mean that those 4 players are on their way out of their club. So it seems Jose Mourinho is now whittling down his squad, and this game against Galatasaray could be a big chance for players to prove themselves to Jose Mourinho for the rest of the season, because a failure to perform could see them out of the door before the season even gets underway. So it's getting down to that nitty-gritty now. I hope Galatasaray provide us with a challenge, because the failure of that game against City to go ahead, it means we're having to play catch-up. We've got less time to get prepared for the new season, and we need a test. We need tests now. What kind of system do you think Galatasaray will play? How do you think they'll play?
Well, traditionally they've been playing 4-2-3-1. So he's been mixing up a bit during the pre-season. You could say like 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. See it depending on how you want to see it. But he's a Dutch manager. He was brought in as a replacement during. I mentioned the financial problems they had before. So what they did is they chopped and changed managers. I mean, every they've had lost count of the number of managers Galatasaray had over the past 2 seasons. So they bought this new manager in, and he's difficult to pronounce name, but he was a youth coach. So he has been looking into bringing up a few of the academy players, something that Galatasaray have really neglected over the past few years, which is why I think it could be good for Bruma. So he likes to play, I would say, attacking-based football. I would say their defence right now is not the strongest, but they won't be shy to attack.
You looking forward to seeing Zlatan's first game as a Manchester United player?
Oh, we're looking very forward to it. He was actually before Galatasaray had the financial crash. He was linked with a move to Galatasaray, but didn't work out. They couldn't finance the move. But he's quite a lot. He knows. Galatasaray fans, obviously. I mean, everyone who doesn't like Zlatan, who doesn't want to watch Ibrahimovic play, it'll be pretty special to see it. And I think you'll have yeah. And I think you'll have a good time against this defence. To be honest, it's it might not be the strongest defence because they've had a few injury problems, and they haven't really had time to reinforce. They haven't made any signings except Serdar Aziz, who is not fully fit just yet. So that's obviously a big problem.
So it looks like we're going to be playing a youthful side sprinkled with a little bit of experience and under a manager that will try to attack, but hopefully a defence that Zlatan Ibrahimovic can get out on his first game. Now, it's difficult to pick a starting lineup for these friendly games. So what we'll do is we'll predict the scoreline. How do we think the game's going to go now? For me, United have to take this seriously. I want to see the kind of team we may see in the first game of the season against Bournemouth. I want to see us start taking games by the scruff of the neck. So David De Gea in goal, Luke Shaw at left back, the centre halves that Jose Mourinho wants to see start the season. And who's going to play at right back? There's so many questions that Manchester United have got to answer at the moment, and so much work that has to be done. That's why the the celebrations of what's going on off the pitch and in the transfer market have to be calmed down a little bit, because we still have it all to prove on the pitch. We've had good windows in the past, at least on paper, and they've failed to perform in the season. So we need to get this right. We need to have a good few games now. We've got Galatasaray, we've got Everton in Wayne Rooney's testimonial, and then we've got Leicester in the Community Shield, which pretty much is all of our pre-season. So we need to take this one seriously. I'm going for a 2-1 Manchester United win. I think it will be tight. What are you going for, Emre?
I think there'll be goals, a lot of goals. I can see Galatasaray springing a few surprises on the counter-attack as well. I'm going for a high score. I was saying 3-3. It's going to be 3-3. A classic Man U Galatasaray scoreline.
That would be quality, that would, wouldn't it? And hopefully it is a very good game to watch. Guys, thank you for joining us. Emre, before you shoot, where can they find you on social media, online and stuff like that?
So our site's Turkish-football.com, and I'm on Twitter under the tag Turkish_FUTBOL, Turkish Football.
Great stuff. Thank you for joining us today. Guys, make sure you go and check out the Turkish Football website, and of course, follow them guys on Twitter. Also, get your comments in below. What kind of 11 do you want to see Jose Mourinho play? Is there any player you want to see start? Any particular... Don't say Zlatan. We know you want to see Zlatan start. Get your predictions in below. Get your comments in below. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. I'm Adam Akola. Here's Emre, and we are out of here.
Pogba's now is probably one of the most sought after player in the world. He's got everything he needs to be a world-class midfielder. He's got size, he's got power, he's got ability, he's athletic, he can pass the ball, he can score goals, tackle.